talk to you about Chapter 2, The Founding and the Constitution. Before America was a world superpower, it began as 13 small colonies run by the British Empire. Over time, the colonists grew angry with how their mother country was treating them, so they decided enough was enough. On July 4, 1776, the colonies declared independence through the works of Thomas Jefferson. Now posed a new problem, trying to establish a new country. In the beginning, the founders experimented with the Articles of Confederation. It called for a very weak central government and left most of the power to the individual states. When it proved to be too weak, the founders needed to reevaluate. They called together the Constitutional Convention with the intent of amending the Articles. As time went on, they changed the plan and drafted a whole new constitution, which created a stronger government. Ratification of the new constitution was controversial. Some people were for it and some people were against, which takes us to my first term, Federalists and Anti-Federalists. Federalists were the people who supported the ratification of the Constitution, and Anti-Federalists were the people who did not support the Constitution. Examples of Anti-Federalists during the time period were Patrick Henry and Samuel Adams, while examples of Federalists were George Washington and Benjamin Franklin. Also, leaders such as John Jay, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison wrote the Federalist Papers. Once the Constitution was adopted, there were different ways that people interpreted it, which brings me to my next term, loose construction. Loose construction is the idea that the constitutional interpretation that gives constitutional provisions are broad and the meanings are open-ended. An example of the loose construction would be the necessary and proper clause in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18, which empowers Congress to make any laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution. This clause is what justified the creation of the Bank of the United States. This can be compared to when kids want to do something that they know that their parents probably wouldn't approve of, but they do it anyways based on the idea that their parents told them they never couldn't do it. Federalists would be most likely for the loose construction interpretation since they were in favor of the strong central government. Loose construction is what gave Chief Justice John Marshall the power to establish judicial review in the court case Marbury v. Madison, which is my third and final term. When Democratic Republican Thomas Jefferson defeated Federalist John Adams in the election of 1800, during the lame duck period, Adams made sure his party would continue to be represented even though there was a shift in power. He appointed 15 midnight judges in the last hours of his presidency. When the papers failed to get passed out during Adams' presidency, it was up to Jefferson. Since he would be filling jobs with people of the opposite party, Jefferson was not about that. He ordered his Secretary of State not to deliver them. One of the appointees, William Marbury, was mad that he did not get his job and petitioned the Supreme Court for a writ of mandamus. Chief Justice Marshall declined Marbury's request because he said that the court could not issue the writ, since Section 13 of the Judiciary Act of 1789 that justified it was unconstitutional. John Marshall thereby established judicial review, or the right of the Supreme Court to determine the constitutional validity of a legislative act, through Marbury v. Madison. An example of judicial review is when the Supreme Court shut down an act which would have made it illegal to burn the flag as an act of protest. The court said that the act was compared to the First Amendment, which prohibits Congress from denying anyone the freedom of speech. Establishing a new nation can be very tricky, especially when there are so many opposing views. In this video, I talked about Federalists and Anti-Federalists, loose construction, and Marbury v. Madison. Anti-Federalists were the people who did not want to ratify the Constitution since it made the government too powerful, while Federalists were the ones who favored a strong central government, and they supported the ratification. Once everyone got on board with the Constitution, it was the same Federalist ideas of strong centralized central government that led to the loose construction interpretations of the document. Federalist Chief Justice John Marshall took the same ideals and executed them by establishing judicial review. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the Supreme Court has judicial review, so it depends upon the concept of loose construction in order to function. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.
Created using Powtoon.